The SMSL AO300 Pro is a very compact 2.1 channel integrated amplifier with a DAC that includes Bluetooth connectivity and has some really good sound quality. And in this video, I'm going to talk about it and its features and how it compares to what I think is its greatest competition, the WiiM Amp. The AO300 Pro comes from SMSL, which comes from China, but it is using parts from all around the world. So the DAC chip in here comes from Cirrus Logic, which is an American company, and it's the CS43131 DAC chip, and that supports PCM formats up to 768 kilohertz and 32-bit depth. It also has an Infineon MA5332 Class D amplifier module in it, Infineon being a German company, and that provides 85 watts per channel into 8 ohms and 165 watts per channel into 4, which is actually pretty impressive for how small and low power consumption and low heat dissipation this thing actually has. And then the volume control even, the volume control system in this is designed and engineered by the Japanese JRC, and it is the NJW1194 electronic volume control system. So it has a pretty advanced volume control system that makes it so that your sound still stays very dynamic and clear even when you turn the volume down. So this little unit, it's not just a product of China, it's a product of parts from all around the world to bring you a really affordable little device that sounds excellent. I particularly like the little screen on the AO300 Pro. There's a button on the remote to basically just turn the screen on and off, which is convenient. And then you can cycle through your inputs. So that was optical, coaxial, Bluetooth, eARC, auxiliary, USB, back to optical. But if you don't want to have to sit there and cycle through them, you can just go into the setup menu and you can select your input from here. So here's all the options we were just going through. And then you've got output settings, so you can output to speakers or headphones. Doesn't let you do both, which I mean, in my opinion is fine, but I guess some people might wish that you could do both. And then you got EQ settings, so you got a bunch of different EQ settings. I would usually run it on direct when I was testing it out, but you've got all sorts of different options here. And then you can literally just turn up and down the treble and the bass. And then you've got filter options for the DAC filters. What did I have it on? I think I had it on the default just to see, but I went through all the different options. Didn't hear a huge difference, but I am interested in this no roll-off with super sampling option. I'm kind of in the middle of the review right now, so I'm gonna have to try this option out and see if it makes much of a difference. And then you can change the color of the screen. You can clear out all the BT, the Bluetooth devices. You can set the dimmer so the screen automatically turns off, turn on and off CEC. And you can just hit a reset button that resets everything to default settings. So yeah, a really comprehensive screen that gives you all the different settings options on this thing, keeping the the front fascia of the device very clean with just the knob. I was going through all these settings with the remote just now, but you can also do it by just pressing in on the knob to select the setting that you're trying to change and turn the knob to change which option you're trying to go down or up to. So when I first did my unboxing, which I did a YouTube short for the unboxing of this thing, I was really surprised at how compact it is. In the images and everything I looked at online, I actually never looked at the dimensions before they sent it to me. So I was expecting a larger unit, and when I unboxed it and realized how small it was, it honestly kind of lowered my expectations for it a little bit, but it is also very hefty for how compact it is. And I'll put some B-roll up right here of showing it with the cover off. It's very dense inside. Like, there's a lot of components crammed very tightly into this little unit. So don't let the size fool you. It's actually a positive for it, because that means that this thing can fit into a lot of places where a larger integrated amp would not fit, like the WiiM Amp is also very compact, but it's taller. But if another B-roll shot I'm going to show you here, this thing will sit under a lot of people's monitors if you want to use it as the base for a 2.1 desktop setup. So the size is actually a really good attribute, not a detriment to this device. Going over the stuff on the front of it, it's got a 6.35 millimeter, aka a 1/4 inch headphone jack, and it has the newer 4.4 millimeter headphone jack. I never tested this thing with headphones at all. I don't really do the whole high-end headphone thing. I am, much more about 2-channel speaker systems than headphones. And then you've got a very nice, satisfying feeling aluminum, really nicely machined volume knob. And then you've got the info screen here. So no other buttons on this device, which it doesn't really need them, because the way that they have laid out the control system on this, the knob, basically clicking the knob in and turning the knob controls essentially everything. And also you can control everything using the included remote as well. So yeah, I really like the styling of this thing, especially in this like natural looking silver, because this front fascia is a very nicely machined piece of aluminum. I really like the styling of this unit as well. All right, anybody who's made it this far into the video, you guys got to do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel. My goal for 2025, I wanted to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I missed that goal. It looks like I'll probably hit 5,000 early February, which is about the time I'm putting this video out. I still want to hit 10,000 by the end of 2026. So if you guys are enjoying this kind of content, if you're audiophiles on a budget, or if you're audiophiles looking at stuff on the much higher end, I'm going to be covering all of that. So please subscribe to the channel. And also, I finally have the Amazon affiliate program set up. So if you're looking at buying anything in the future, even if it's not something that I'm covering in this video, click on my generic AV Obsessed Amazon affiliate link and bookmark that. That way, anytime you go to Amazon, you use that bookmark, and I can make a little bit of a commission off of your purchases. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It gives me a little bit of money that I could use towards building up this channel and buying more gear to review, because 90% of the stuff that I review I have to buy myself. So if you guys could do me that favor, that would be awesome. Going around back, you see, even though this thing is pretty small, it has a lot of connectivity options. You've got your stereo left and right, like analog RCA inputs. You got a coaxial digital input right here, and a subwoofer out right here. And then this is obviously the little antenna for the Bluetooth. Bluetooth is also a pretty strong suit with this device, because it supports Bluetooth LDAC, which is, in my opinion, the best sounding Bluetooth format. I did test this thing using Bluetooth, and if I'm honest, I don't think I could hear much of a difference between streaming lossless files through the optical input on this versus using the Bluetooth. So if all you're going to do is use Bluetooth, then this thing is going to be a really strong contender for your little 2.1 channel system, because that is a really good implementation of Bluetooth. Under the Bluetooth antenna, you've got a USB Type-C. So if you have a streamer that has USB out, or if you're connecting it directly to a computer, that's going to give you your highest resolution bit rate. That's gonna be how you get the 768 kilohertz 32-bit data input is through that USB-C in. Then you've got optical on here, optical being limited to 192 kilohertz and 24-bit, which still sounds excellent. Most of the time when I was using this, I was using it with a WiiM Mini plugged into the optical port, and it sounded fantastic. And then also it has HDMI ARC support with CEC. So when you plug this into a TV using that HDMI connection, the TV will be able to turn on and off the device and control the volume just using your TV remote. And then you've got full-sized speaker binding posts out on here to go out to your speakers. And then you got a power on-off toggle right next to your full-size C13 power connection. So very small unit that has a lot of connectivity options and works out really well in almost any kind of a system that I could see someone wanting to use it with. The only thing that it doesn't have is an actual like phono stage. Like you have your standard RCA, stereo RCA inputs, but they are not going to have the gain stage for a turntable that doesn't have the phono stage. So you have to use, if you're going to connect a turntable to this, you'll have to have a turntable that either has the phono stage built in, or you'll have to buy an external phono stage for it. Now getting into the actual meat and potatoes of the review, what kind of sound quality can you expect out of this very small, very affordable 2.1 channel amplifier? Well, I would say it delivers a lot of sound, like really premium sound quality. Like I was surprised at what kind of sound I was getting out of this thing. I actually used this on every speaker in my house except for one pair, but that's because it's a pair of speakers that, you know, not too many people are familiar with, so I didn't really bother to compare it. But I've hooked this thing up to Klipsch RP-600M Series 2, Elac DB63s, a SVS Prime Bookshelves. I ran it a lot with the Stark Sound Beta 5s, which, if you haven't seen my unboxing yet, I do have those in for a review, and that video will probably be coming shortly after this one. And then I also hooked it up in my living room on my main speakers with my SVS SB5000 subwoofer to test the subwoofer output. And it doesn't really seem to matter the fact that like those are some particularly like high quality, very resolving speakers. This thing had an extremely like almost dead silent noise floor, which is very important. And it didn't seem to rob my speakers of dynamics, although they are pretty efficient speakers. So 85 watts per channel from this thing is plenty to drive my Canton Vento 896.2 towers to, you know, very high levels without any kind of distortion or anything like that. And the subwoofer output on this works very well, and using the SVS app, I was able to blend the subwoofer in with the towers perfectly. So I was getting a really, really awesome 2.1 channel system out of this, running it. And I also was using eARC. I watched a few TV shows and stuff like that using the eARC connection from this going into the 83-inch LG G4 and a 65-inch Sony A95L. And after a firmware update, this is actually kind of an important note, after a firmware update, that worked perfectly. I hope Aoshida Audio / SMSL makes the firmware that they provided to me publicly available for everybody, because when they first sent me this unit, if you enable the HDMI CEC functionality in this unit on the little info screen here, then it was basically impossible to switch this unit off of the HDMI input. Even when there was no TV connected to the HDMI port, it would always switch back to HDMI. So I hope that the firmware update that they provided me that fixed that issue is publicly available by the time I post this video. But that was the one like major flaw that I found with this unit, was with that HDMI CEC function. But yeah, so I've tested this thing on multiple TVs and with a ton of speakers, and it sounds excellent. Like, obviously it doesn't sound as good as my high-end Macintosh system that I normally have connected to my my main speakers in my living room, but it's probably just as good a quality of amplification as, like, you know, an AV receiver that costs, like, you know, twice, or actually probably more like 4 or 5 times as much as this unit. So the power that you get out of the Infineon Class D amplifier in this unit is excellent. And then you can tune the sound kind of however you want. They have a whole bunch of EQ presets, and then you can also just go into the tone controls and turn up and down the treble and the bass. So if the unit sounds a little bit too bright to you, you can go ahead and tune that down. If it feels a little bit heavy or light on the bass, you can change that too. So really, the conversation about, like, what kind of a character does this thing impart into your sound is a moot point because of the fact that you could change those settings. I did 99% of my listening just with the EQ setting in direct, tone controls set to 0, and the DAC roll-off setting set to its default. So it was just a very neutral sound with it in those settings, and that's kind of usually what I'm going for. But yeah, the sound quality that I was getting out of this thing was surprising for how small and affordable of a device this thing actually is. So how does the SMSL AO300 Pro stack up against, like I said, its biggest competition, the WiiM Amp? Well, they're pretty similar, other than the one glaring thing that is missing from the AO300 Pro. They actually have almost all the exact same connections, except for this thing has an Ethernet port because it has built-in streaming. It doesn't have a USB audio in, it actually has a USB, but you can use that as a USB audio out. And then it doesn't have a coaxial digital audio in. So those are the only things that the WiiM is missing in comparison to the SMSL. But the biggest obvious glaring omission is the fact that the WiiM Amp has built-in streaming over Wi-Fi or Ethernet. And so you install the WiiM Amp on your phone and you can control this thing over Wi-Fi, stream lossless music files directly to this, and completely control the amp with the app. I basically 90% of the time I was listening to this thing was using it with a WiiM mini streamer plugged into it using the optical audio connector so I could get lossless streaming into the AO300 Pro. So now, instead of being at a $300 price point like you were at with the WiiM Amp, you're at about, it's $270 plus 90, so you're at about $360 for this setup versus $300 for the WiiM Amp. So essentially, is it worth it spending the extra 60 bucks to do this little setup versus the WiiM Amp? And in my opinion, I would say 90% of the time it is, because the sound quality that I was getting from the AO300 Pro was significantly better than the WiiM Amp. The WiiM Amp is great for what it is, but especially if you hook up speakers that are not particularly efficient, the amplifier in the WiiM Amp runs out of juice a lot sooner than on the SMSL AO300 Pro. If you hook up a pair of fairly inefficient bookshelves to the WiiM Amp, you can actually just max out the volume on the WiiM Amp, and it's still not even going to be, like, particularly loud. It's at least in a large room. If you have a very small room and fairly efficient speakers, then the WiiM Amp is definitely going to be all you need. But the sound quality with a pair of less efficient speakers and in a large room, you get a lot more out of the SMSL versus the WiiM Amp. And yeah, once you add something like the WiiM Mini Streamer to the WiiM Amp and connect it with optical, do not connect it using the 3.5 millimeter to RCA into this thing. The sound quality will not be nearly as good, because the Cirrus Logic DAC chip that's in here is actually quite good.
I was getting a lot of really good resolution and soundstage and imaging out of it, which surprised me how good it was in comparison to what I'm used to listening to. But yeah, once you plug in the WiiM Mini, you get the streaming functionality. You actually get the room correction stuff that if you want to use that. So you get basically all the functionality out of this system as you would out of the WiiM Amp. And it's the power that this thing has is significantly better. Like, they rate the WiiM Amp at 60 watts per channel and 8 ohms. I genuinely don't believe that it can do that, or if it does it, it's at like 10% total harmonic distortion. I believe the Cirrus or the Infineon amp chip that's in here is rated at 85 watts per channel at 8 ohms, and that is a rating at like 0.03% total harmonic distortion or something like that. So the power that you're getting out of this thing is a lot more significant and a lot cleaner. So if you are looking for a little bit higher end sound quality than the WiiM Amp, go ahead and pick up a WiiM Mini and an AO300 Pro, and you're gonna have an awesome sounding little system like that can actually scale up to fairly expensive, like high quality speakers without robbing them of their potential like the WiiM Amp is going to do. So that is what I think of the SMSL AO300 Pro. A great little 2.1 channel integrated amplifier for either somebody just starting out in the audiophile world, or if you're just looking for something that's going to provide good, high quality, clean power to a pair of speakers, like let's say a desktop setup or in a bedroom or something like that. Just an excellent little versatile amplifier that you could use almost anywhere because it's so small and uses so little power and generates no heat. And yeah, it's a nice little unit. And if you are thinking about buying one, then I would also ask that you think about using my affiliate links down below, because I'm going to have 2 affiliate links specifically for this one. One of them, if you are a person who doesn't like to shop on Amazon, I do have an affiliate link where you can buy it directly from the distributor, which is Aoshida Audio. They are the distributor for a lot of the Chinese hi-fi brands, including SMSL. And I will also have the Amazon affiliate links to this thing, the WiiM Mini, which I think is kind of like, if you want to do streaming, this is just the perfect device to go ahead and add to the AO300 Pro. And if it sounds like you'd still prefer to just buy the WiiM Amp, I'll put the affiliate link in there for this one as well. And if you use my affiliate links, then I make a little bit of commission that I could use towards building up this channel. And I would greatly appreciate that. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, which is actually going to be that Stark Sound Beta 5 review, I think.